Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel and another episode of Dump and Chase. We have a lot of interesting topics talking about Team Canada bubble candidates, a little bit of check-ins on standings and what I think about those, the Chicago Blackhawks and the really terrible run that they've been on, Cole Caufield and his scoring, and some other things that I do know for sure we'll just get into randomly. So make sure you stick around, listen to the episode, hit that button, subscribe, and ring that bell. I want to hear what all of you have to say because this should be, again, another pretty interesting episode where I might have some interesting takes, but I also want to hear from you if I may have missed something or just anything else along that line. But let's get right into the video. There's been so much to talk about in this past week, which is kind of wild when you have a 1 week for one episode and everything just kind of piles up. So I'm really happy that that's happened. But again, we will start off with the Team Canada selection process, something that has been definitely debated on who should make it, who shouldn't, who's making a name for themselves. And, there are some people in this that might be getting some conversation, but I don't think we'll actually make it. Let's get right into who I think that honestly is going to be. First, let's start off with Tom Wilson. This guy has been an absolute truck on every side of the ice. This guy's 32 points, 17 goals in 30 games. He's a physical guy who will not take anything on that ice and stand up for your players, be that presence, and just all around, be that net front presence as well. I mean, this is a big dude. He is 225 pounds, 6'4", and it seems like he's a pretty good locker room guy as well. But the one thing that has kind of taken out Tom Wilson here is his penalty troubles. He's not exactly great with that. And when we look, before we even get into his game logs, career right now, penalty minutes, 54 in the year, he has kind of controlled it. But when you compare it to last year where he had 100, that could definitely be. It's not out of the question to say that he might go over that. And that is a little bit, nerve-wracking when you look at it, because you don't need him taking a bad penalty and he can't control himself in a very pivotal moment in the biggest stage when it comes to hockey besides the Stanley Cup. And yeah, you know what? He's shown in past and in present times that he can kind of tame that penalty process, I guess, that he goes through, or the way that he doesn't want to trip somebody or doesn't want to cross-check somebody versus when he does. But I think that's what you do have to weigh for a guy like Tom Wilson. Yeah, he's been scoring a lot. He's on an absolute here. We'll see it right here. His game logs, he's scoring or at least putting up assists every single game, it feels like, and just getting on the board no matter what. And, I know a lot of people might be harping at me right now saying, yeah, but a lot of those have been empty net goals. He's still been contributing. He's still been putting in the work on the ice before that goal happens to make it happen. So I think that's something that you should kind of give to him there. But again, he can play those minutes. He can be that physical guy in the middle six and maybe come up with a couple of goals. But again, the one thing that you will look at is his penalty troubles. The next one that we will look at right here is Macklin Celebrini. Now, Macklin Celebrini, it shouldn't really be much of a question now if he makes it. I feel like it's more of where he'll slot in for this Team Canada. Now, why am I talking about him as a bubble candidate? Because I still think there should be that conversation, right? Macklin Celebrini is 19 years old. This guy came into the league last year. And there is something to be said about bringing experience over some young guy who's on a heater. I know that kind of sounds crazy, and we'll get into someone, and probably the next one here that I'll talk about who might not make it just because of that. But Celebrini is a very well-rounded player. He can play very defensive. He's that two-way center guy. 43 points on the season, one of the NHL's leaders when it comes to points. 15 goals on the San Jose Sharks of all teams, which is absolutely wild. And yeah, you look at his game logs, some streaky times, others he's been absolutely on fire. But I don't think it would be a bad take to put him on this team. And that's why you bring other experienced people. If you need to take him out of the lineup because you don't feel that he's getting up to where he needs to be, or if he's not really scoring, he's, being just defensive or something like that, which would be fine. But you do need to make sure that you're making the right choice here. I think Macklin Celebrini would be the right choice. I think a third line spot would be great for him. But again, he's 19 years old. That's one thing they'll look at, and that's one thing they're definitely debating. Will he be that 2 or 3 spots left that might be up for debate? Yeah, I think he is probably going to be in one of those, and along with a guy, Nick Suzuki, who I won't talk about, but I think has definitely solidified himself on this team as that third-line center. A great two-way guy, has been producing, and honestly is up there in the Selke for me. So I think for a guy like Nick Suzuki, he'll be in there. But again, the Macklin Celebrini, I think he goes, but still a conversation to have. Now, when we'll stay on this young type of topic with Connor Bedard, 18 goals, 39 points in 28 games. Yet again, another young 19 to 20-year-old who is just dominating and is up there in the most points in the NHL. But I'm going to be this, sour guy and say, I don't think that he makes it. Now, Connor Bedard, it feels like he can score from anywhere and is just doing it automatic. Now, he didn't have one against the LA Kings in their most recent matchup. And of course, they just got absolutely plastered by the Anaheim Ducks recently. And yeah, just not a good look there. But when you talk about Connor Bedard, you love what he can do offensively, but he doesn't really do much else. This isn't a guy who wins faceoffs. He's not physical. I wouldn't say he's that two-way guy. So where does that leave him? He's going to be that power play specialist, maybe. You kind of set him up in that Ovechkin type of style. I'm not saying he's Ovechkin, but like in that certain spot where he's going to be able to just absolutely put pucks in the back of the net. For a guy like Connor Bedard, I think you need to weigh that, right? Yeah, the hype is all around him. People want to see him there. But you got to make this decision for the best of Team Canada. And I think for Connor Bedard, you need to weigh that. If he's not going to be scoring, where else are you going to put him? So is that going to be like an empty spot where you could have had someone more versatile come in the lineup? I think that's what they're weighing. And I think that you have to say, is he better than XYZ in this top six? Because that's where he's going to be if he makes it, in my opinion. And when I talk about the guys in the top six, you're thinking of Nathan McKinnon, Connor McDavid, Sidney Crosby, Sam Reinhart, like all of these big names that could score, that can play two-way defense, that are quick, that are fast, and they're just more versatile than Bedard. I don't think that he makes it. I'd be stupid to say that he's probably not on that short list of guys who could be fighting for those 2 or 3 spots, but I don't think he makes it. I just don't see it. But again, we'll see how it goes. Just not someone who I think is going to be that, massive difference maker. And you can fight me for that. Next one is Mark Scheifele, and a guy who I do think deserves it. Like this was one individual who, arms were raised in the air when he wasn't put on Team Canada for the Four Nations. Now they ended up winning anyway, but there was a lot of people who weren't on that team. Tom Wilson being one of them who we talked about earlier, Mark Scheifele, another one, and a couple of others that obviously didn't make it as well. Pretty much everybody that I'm going to talk about here. But Mark Scheifele, 36 points, 14 goals in 28 games. Now, Scheifele, again, he's going to get you some faceoffs. He's going to score, and he has that touch. I think that he's very, well-rounded for the most part. He has that leadership aspect, and he's a veteran, and he has that experience. So I think that when you look at something like this, he's an intriguing candidate for Team Canada. Now, again, you talk about the short list. Where is he going to be in this lineup? Probably in the top 6, maybe the middle 6. So then you have to weigh, is he going to be better than XYZ? Is he going to be better than this guy and that guy? And when you look at what he's been able to do on the Winnipeg Jets, who, they've kind of exposed themselves on a team that really cannot, really perform without Connor Hellebuck, he's still produced in almost every game. Like if he didn't score in that one game on the 23rd of November, he'd be on a massive point streak. But again, Mark Scheifele is going to be a consistent point producer. He can play down the middle. He can play on the wing. He has a great shot. And I do think he has that defensive type of mind. And I don't think that's crazy to say for a guy like Mark Scheifele, but he's not going to be that Nick Suzuki type game changer or the Anthony Cirelli if he makes it as well, which I think Nick Suzuki kind of takes his spot. But yeah, Mark Scheifele, one guy to keep an eye on. I'm kind of going rapid fire here because there's so many names I want to talk about. There's only 3 or 4 left here. But yeah, Mark Scheifele, I think he deserves to make it. I don't think it's crazy to say he doesn't. But again, you do have to make that comparison of, is he going to be better on the wing than guys like Mitch Marner? No. Sam Reinhart? No. Okay, so if that's the top 6 on the right, which I don't think he plays left, then who are you going to put where? I think that's, again, the conversation you're going to have. That's what they're having. And okay, I don't really think he's going to make it, but you do have to have that conversation. Morgan Geekie. This guy has been tearing it up, scoring. It feels like every game. 22 goals, up there for the most in the NHL, 32 points in 30 games on the Boston Bruins. And look, you might be looking at this and saying, okay, is he just, having the David Pastrnak moment where he's just cleaning up from his passes? I don't think so. I think he's been putting himself in better spots to succeed. We've seen that in his in trends in his trajectory over his career. Like, we even look when the Seattle Kraken didn't qualify him, it was kind of crazy when you go from 22 to 28 to 39. You were seeing that uprise in points and even just other aspects. I'm not going to go in too far with the advanced stats, but he was getting more ice time. He was looking better. His shooting percentage got better for sure. And then he absolutely pops off in Boston for 57 last year, 33 goals, not too bad. And then this year, he's looking great again and is going to surpass that. And if you're a Boston Bruins fan and you're Don Sweeney, you're licking your lips, you're rubbing your hands and saying, oh my goodness, I might have found a diamond in the rough off just free agency because someone didn't qualify him, which is absolutely wild. Now, again, is this a guy that is going to make Team Canada? No. He's going to be on the wing, and he's not replacing anybody else. This guy's been scoring. I think you have to credit that, and I think you do have to say, okay, I'm going to look at this and really say, okay, is he going to take the spot over him, or him? And again, Team Canada absolutely loaded when you talk about who could be on the wing. Like, Nathan MacKinnon is probably going to be on the wing because it's going to be McDavid, Crosby, the 1-2 punch. I mean, you could put McKinnon there, but that's probably what it's going to be, which is wild. So yeah, he's not going to get over those guys. And even on the left side, you're still just, it's a roadblock. Geekie isn't that guy, but you do have to have that conversation. So I'm not going to talk too much about him, but there is someone who does kind of deserve this talk right now. It's Jakob Chychrun. 25 points in 30 games, 11 goals as a defenseman. But his metrics have been absolutely off the charts, offensively and defensively. He's looked so good. I made a video on this. His Corsi, this is just absolutely disgusting from Jakob Chychrun. Like, just so good. And again, we're going to look at the game logs here for a second. Another guy who kind of on and off, but has just been so good. And this is a guy who is overshadowing someone in John Carlson, who is having probably one of his best seasons at he's in his mid-30s now. And Chychrun just signed. He looks great. He looks passionate. And you might be thinking, okay, well, he was born in Boca Raton, Florida, USA. He is Canadian. He has that, citizenship, and he has represented Canada on the world stage in past years and not the US. So yeah, he is able to represent Canada. And I don't think this is a crazy thought to say, yeah, he could be that 7-8 defenseman because of how good he has been on both sides. You talk about that Swiss Army knife that Canada had for so many years on that back end. Do you remember 2014? Remember a guy in, what was it, Bouwmeester? Yeah, crazy good. Not the one guy you would think of on that defense core, because of course Shea Weber was on there. Drew Doughty was just getting into everything and looked absolutely great. And he's still going to make it this year, and many other big names. But Bouwmeester held it down. That guy was an absolute dog. And even for the past years in 2010 and forever, talk about how good some of those defense scores were. They were solid, and that's what shut down every single team. That's why Canada's been so successful on the world stage, because you bring guys in who can do it on both sides of the puck, and you don't have to worry about what's going on back there, because you're going to be scoring goals on the other side, because everyone can do it. So you need to be versatile. You need to be able to do that, and Jakob Chychrun, I think, could be that. Now, will he be picked? It's hard to say, because Team Canada loves their defense core pretty much the exact same or similar to what they had at the Four Nations. And if you don't remember what that looked like, you had the Colton Parayko, Thomas Harley, who I think makes it anyway, even with this injury and how everything's going to look. But all those same names are going to still be there on that back end. And the ones that I already mentioned before, I don't think there's going to be much change. But definitely someone to keep an eye on, and one that I don't think's crazy to not mention. Now, when we go to the goaltending, Darcy Kuemper, 914, has looked a lot better over his last couple of games, or even his last stretch of games for the LA Kings. Just lights out. And I will still stick with the Scott Wedgwoods of the world. And again, we'll get into that. And I just kind of hovered over it a little bit there. I still think he should get that thought, I guess, here. But Kuemper is definitely the upper hand. And again, we talk about this experience of playing more games, winning on the biggest stage. Darcy Kuemper has done that. He did it with the Colorado Avalanche. And he's absolutely carrying the LA Kings recently. So many wins on the board, a couple of shutouts on the season in these 20 games. He's been good. It's just the Kings haven't really done him or really given him much help. He's had to hold it down on his own, which is disappointing for him, but might earn him that third string spot, maybe that second string spot in Team Canada. I don't know what's going to go on with Jordan Binnington. I still think he's going to have that spot anyway, but it's, again, a conversation to have. And we'll go to Scott Wedegewood, still at 920, 1 shutout, 13 wins in the season. He's been pivotal for the Avalanche and why they've been so good this season. Remember, Blackwood was out at the start of the year. He stepped in, looked great, got them wins, strung it together, and has easily been one of the best goalies in the league right now. And that's not even a surprise. And again, not crazy to think that he could be that third string guy because of what numbers he's put up, how calm he's looked. He's done it on a good team, which means he can play in front of a good defense, which they have a good defense. It's all these factors that GMs will look at, and he's going to be on that list. He should be. He's been good. Kuemper should be. All these guys should be on the list. It just depends on who do you want them over XYZ? Are they better than this guy, this guy, this guy? Are they versatile? That's me the biggest thing, versatility in this Team Canada lineup. And I don't think people realize that as much because you see someone scoring so much. You say, yeah, that's great. We already have a lot of that. We need difference. We need something different. We need to be able to grind them down, which is why you talk about the Tom Wilsons of the world, which is why you talk about the Sam Bennetts, which is why you talk about the Nick Suzuki's, and even the Brendan Hagels who have that scoring touch, but can get in your face and just be so annoying. Like, you have to have those conversations and bring them on your team because you have the scoring. That's great. And even if you're scoring so much, you might not even get on there, which is so wild with Team Canada. If Team Canada brought in another team, Team Canada 2, they probably would compete for a medal because of how deep this roster can be. So we'll get off this topic for a second, or for now, and we'll move on to the other aspects that I want to talk about. And this one, for me, is just, let's just go over the standings, how everything has looked. Standings check-in. 1, the Colorado Avalanche have been still tearing it up. 8-1-1 in their last 10, 21-2-6, 48 points. Now, some of these might not be updated. There's still games playing, but Dallas has still been good. Washington has been rolling. Logan Thompson, I believe, just saved 38 of 38 in their 2-0 win over the Columbus Blue Jackets. Anaheim, like I said, they rolled over the Chicago Blackhawks. I think it was a final score of 6-0, but that might have changed. Vegas, they got another big win, definitely controversial with the penalty calls and just how everything was going against those Rangers. Minnesota, they lost. Wallstedt 4-2. That was his first bad game in a while. Gives up 4 after back-to-back shutouts and just being so great. Maybe he comes back down to earth and we finally see what type of goalie we're getting. I still think he's going to be good, but of course 944 is a crazy stat line to keep up. The Islanders, they're staying relevant. They're 5-4-1 their last 10. The Penguins keep rolling. Tampa Bay still one of the better teams in this league. We'll keep rolling it down. The Toronto Maple Leafs, they've been on a nice roll. I think they took, 4 of 5 on the road trip. They lose to Montreal in that shootout, pick up a point. They've been looking a lot better. Utah, 4-6 in the last 10. They might be a candidate for a coaching change further on in the season. I don't hate Tournier, but it's one thing to keep an eye on, especially with Pete DeBoer out there. Detroit, I talked about a guy in John Gibson, how it has not worked out. They've been a decent team. 15-11-3 for 33 points is still pretty good considering where everyone else is at right now in the Atlantic, but they have not gotten that goaltending. That's not the fault of John Gibson altogether. Cam Talbot has also not been great, so both have been terrible. But specifically John Gibson, when you give up Peter Mrazek a second and a fourth to go and make that switch and hope that 32-year-old can be what he was in Anaheim for a while, not great. Not good at all. The Flyers, I was going to make them a specific topic for this podcast, but I'll just talk about them now. 59-3, 6-4-0 in their last 10. You talk about who's been absolutely buzzing for them. Trevor Zegras has been a big factor. Sean Couturier is starting to pick it up now. Travis Konechny, Matvei Michkov. I think this is a big topic of discussion of how he's maybe not having that better season that we were all talking about. Again, another video that I made not too long ago, on pace for, I want to say, under 50 points, which is like 45-ish. Still really good. But again, comparing to his counterparts in his rookie year, the Macklin Celebrini, who's now on pace for 20-something points right now. Lane Hudson, he's on pace for a lot more. I want to say like 70, 75 points. And Cutter Gauthier, who's scoring and is on pace for 80 to 90 points. I believe it's like 95. You are concerned about that, but again, I'm not worried because of how young he is and how much skill this kid has. And then you look at the lower spots here. Vancouver Canucks, obviously we heard those rumors about Quinn Hughes being traded. The New Jersey Devils had conversations with them. Again, not something to keep an eye on right now. Do I think they should trade him as soon as possible? Yeah, because you want to get the most from him and out of him. So whatever team's willing to go and trade him for this season and a playoff run possibly, and another season and a playoff run, I don't think it's the most terrible idea, especially at, what is it, $7.85 million? What an absolute steal that is. Even if he goes to the New Jersey Devils anyway, you have a Quinn Hughes on your back end for 2 playoffs. I'll take that any day. The St. Louis Blues have been a lot better, 5-3-2 in their last 10. They pick up another win over the Montreal Canadiens, very close there in the final minutes with Cole Caufield almost putting that over the line. And then, I mean, the Seattle Kraken, we talked about how mid they were, 11-9-6. Yeah, I don't like that. Calgary's been a lot better, 6-3-10 over the last 10, or 6-3-1 over the last 10, excuse me. But again, that's a team that needs to be tanking so bad. They're in no man's land, and we don't want to see that. If you're a Calgary Flames fan, I'm not. I say we because, you know, I would like every team to be on the uprise. And then, of course, there's Nashville at the bottom. No surprise there. Now, if I didn't talk about your team, it's because it's just kind of random where I'm looking over this whole thing. But definitely interesting to look over that full standings over the last bit, how it's been going and how it looks. It's not going to change. But, I mean, Colorado looks good. Dallas looks good. Vegas is still rolling somehow, and they just continue to. It's so crazy how year over year, because they keep building a good team. You have Jack Eichel and a bunch of others. Vegas keeps rolling, and just so many other surprises in Pittsburgh, Anaheim a little bit, the Islanders, and even Philly. Like, it's just so crazy. But I know we talked about this team last week, but I would like to talk about them again because this is a different type of topic, I guess, in a way. And the Chicago Blackhawks, 2-8 in their last 10 games. Outscored, checks notes, 41-22. Now, I think we were all expecting this absolute downfall from the Chicago Blackhawks because it was not sustainable. It was the same thing with San Jose, except like theirs wasn't as bad as a downfall. They were kind of just staying in that 500 level, going up and down, up and down. Chicago's was different, you know, like they were looking pretty solid, and they're still getting good goaltending for the most part. A 7-1 game, excuse me. It was still still getting good goaltending. Spencer Knight looks great. You know, we talked about Connor Bedard. We'll get into him again a little bit, but you know, this is a team we were all expecting to kind of come down to earth and still be that bottom feeder. Now, will they continue to be maybe that 20? Well, maybe not 20, so let's just go like 23 to 27 team. Let's see it. I don't think they're going to be maybe not absolutely terrible. I think a lot of guys are looking a lot better. Tyler Bertuzzi, Andre Burakovsky's been very good for that offense. The defense is still very young. I mean, it just looks good. Like it's crazy what's going on in Chicago, but you know, again, still a team that is just not great. And even when we look at the statistics here for the Chicago Blackhawks, thanks to Money Puck here, they're not great, right? You're looking at the goals for per 60 minutes, 302 versus the goals against, it's at 344, and that's only going to get worse, I feel. They've been overachieving. It's not crazy to think that. And when we look over those last 10 games, it really all started with that back-to-back versus Seattle and then Buffalo. You lose 9-3, and everything after that, like it really should be. They really should be 1-9, to be honest. Like their only one really good game was versus the Kings. That was a 2-1 close, but I guess you could say like the comeback was a really good game, but they started off terribly. I don't really want to give them points for that because they weren't great over the 60 minutes. They weren't looking good. Again, you're outscored 41-21 over the last 10. That's not going to do it. And no one's expecting this team to be absolutely crazy. I think at the start of the season, we were thinking that Connor Bedard was going to reunite with his cousin in Gavin McKenna and make things happen. Again, that still could happen. But how it started versus how it's going was all different. Kind of got people's minds mixed up and maybe expecting more. But yeah, Chicago hasn't been good. It's just, it's what it is, right? They start off great, come back down to earth, overachieve. It's what it is. Chicago's what it is, and they're going to keep getting worse. Don't like to be that Debbie Downer, but it is true. The last thing I do want to get into here, and he's been so good over this past bit, just scoring, being so consistent. We'll come back to Montreal here for the final topic, and it's Cole Caufield, or Goal Caufield. 16 goals, 31 points in 28 games. He scores one again here in the loss versus the St. Louis Blues. What more can you say about this guy? We talked about Team Canada's bubble candidates. I don't think that for at least Team USA, Cole Caufield is considered a bubble candidate. I think he should be on that team. Now, is there maybe other people who are kind of similar to him? Jason Robertson has also been very good. He's on some people's teams and not on some people's teams. Again, you talk about this versatility with all the scoring, but he just seems to score in big moments and be so good. And again, these game logs will just keep chipping back to. Look at the point streak. We'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 games with a point. And you talk about consistency for a guy like Cole Caufield. He is just that. Like him and Nick Suzuki, I would love to see that matchup at the Olympics and see how they kind of try to bounce off each other, if they really know each other's moves and tendencies. That's the most exciting thing, I feel. What more can you say about a guy like Cole Caufield? I don't think it's crazy when you talk about that Olympic type of talk. He didn't make the Four Nations. I didn't think he was doing as well at the time. I know there was a lot of uproar with those Canadiens fans and what they were expecting. That wasn't going to happen. Sorry, Habs fans. It's just what it was at the time of the Four Nations. But I do think now he does have a pretty good chance of making the USA roster. He does have some challengers when it comes to stuff like that. And I only named the one in Jason Robertson, but there's a couple of others who are pretty close to Cole Caufield that you could make that judgment call for and say, I could see him over him. Like another guy in Matthew Nyes, I think makes, and I don't think that's crazy. Like he's been one of the better players. He's physical. Again, the versatility. He goes to the net fronts, the dirty areas. He's been solid. So him and Cole Caufield, I think, would be great additions on those extra forwards, and you just keep everything similar. Again, if you want to go see my most recent USA lineup, it is on my Instagram. I'll probably have more of a one that I'll update, but we'll see how that goes with everything else. But the last thing I want to talk about was Cole Caufield. He's been so good. And what more is there to say? Like Habs fans, there's your celebration party. I'm giving the Habs some knuckles here and some positives. So take it while you can, because I usually don't like to do that, but they have been pretty good. He's been damn good. So yeah, there you go. But that does it here for Dump and Chase, the podcast. If you have not already, make sure you go and hit that like button, subscribe, ring that bell, and comment. I want to hear what all of you have to say about my thoughts. Am I stupid? Am I smart? Is there something that I missed? Or is there something that you want me to talk about? I would love to hear it, so let me know. But until next time, my name is Zach Staden. This was Dump and Chase, the podcast. We'll be talking soon on Friday.